IBF Portal Video Manual. This video is intended for the disaster risk managers. IBF Portal is a tool to support disaster managers with decision-making during a disaster. IBF stands for Impact-Based Forecasting. That is a methodology to forecast what the weather will do in terms of impacts on the communities. This dashboard is specific to floods and shows the forecasting of potential floods impacting in Zambia for the upcoming 7 days. For every IBF portal, there is also a PDF manual. Please read this to ensure full understanding of the portal. In order to use the IBF portal, you will have received an email with the URL, your username and your password. Once you go to the URL, it will open the login screen. The login screen shows as an introductory message. You can click on the message to watch the IBF video guide. This video is a video you are currently watching. You can enter your username and password to access the IBF portal. Once you have logged in, you see the portal. Currently, we are looking at the no trigger state of the dashboard, which means that there is no upcoming flood in the next 7 days. This screen can be divided into 6 main parts. At the top of the screen, you see the top menu. Below the top menu, you see the situational overview that is split up into the chat box column and the indicators column. To the right, you see the map, and to the far right, you see the data layers tab. It is important to note that this is a staged version, and therefore is not finished yet. This is why you see an environment stage at the top of the dashboard. At the top, we see the main menu. The main menu has 2 buttons. The button at the top left corner is currently only used for development and will have different elements in the final dashboard. To the right of that, you see the account that is logged in, and this should be showing your account. The Logout button allows you to log out. The Export View button opens a pop-up with an explanation on how to make a screenshot. You exit the pop-up by clicking on the Exit button. The top right of the main menu shows the logo of the organizations who have collaborated on this IBF portal. On the left of the dashboard, you see the situational overview. The title shows today's date. As mentioned before, the situational overview is split up into 2 parts, the chat box and the indicators. The chat box in the left column explains the IBF portal and its current state, trigger or no trigger. In this stage, there are currently no triggers. The About Floods trigger button will take you to the technical manual of the IBF portal, which explains the data, the model, and the early actions. The video guide button will take you to the video guide you are currently watching. The next column shows data about the trigger. In this case, it shows data for potentially exposed districts. Currently, it shows the number of people potentially exposed to floods per area. The information icon on the right of the trigger data allows you to open a pop-up with further explanation on this data. To exit the trigger data pop-up, you click anywhere outside of the pop-up screen. Below you see the action summary. These are the areas of focus for the actions that provide an overview of the action per sector. The sectors are disaster risk reduction, shelter, livelihoods and basic needs, health, WASH, inclusion, gender and protection, and migration. On the right of the data column, you see the intervention map. This map shows the area of intervention. If any data layers are selected, the map will also show additional information about the area. Above the map, you see a series of days. The day that is highlighted with a bold blue line is the current day shown in the map. The portal issues a warning if the trigger threshold is exceeded as far as 7 days in advance. The dashboard visualizes the potential floods exposure and provides information on which actions to take over the course of the upcoming days. Below the panel with the dates, we see buttons for different administrative divisions. For this specific portal, it is provinces, districts, and wards. The administrative division, highlighted in purple or blue, is the current division shown on the map. The selected administrative boundaries appear as grey borders on the map. To navigate in the map, you use your mouse to zoom in and out and move from left to right by clicking and dragging. You can also zoom with the use of the plus and minus sign at the top left of the map. By clicking the Layers tab in the right of the map, you can open the Layers column. This column shows the data layers that can be visualized on the map. By clicking on the layer name, you can add the layer to the map. For example, by clicking on Red Cross branches, you can add Red Cross branch locations to the map. If a layer is selected, the column to the right of the layer name shows the icon or color in which the data is displayed on the map. The information buttons next to the layer name allow you to open a pop-up to learn more about the respected data layer. The layer pop-up is information about the data layer. It shows the source of the data, and for some data layers, also a link to the source. We are going to now simulate a trigger state. This happens when a trigger threshold is exceeded, which means a flood is forecasted in the next 7 days. Here you see the IBF portal in a trigger state. The situational overview title has changed from blue to purple. In the chat box, the speech bubbles are also purple. The first speech bubble contains information about the trigger. In this case, it states that the trigger warning for floods has been activated. The second purple chat box contains information on how to select affected areas and where the area's early actions are shown. When you select a province, the early actions will also show. These are pre-agreed early actions to be executed in the potentially affected areas as described in the Early Action Protocol. In this case, the area that is listed is Senaga. You can see this here and here. This chat bubble will allow you to keep track of which actions are to do or which are already done. If, for example, you receive information that the task for livelihoods and basic needs has been completed, you can click and check box next to the action. You can submit the task by clicking Save. This will update the dashboard. When you want to stop an activation in a district, you can click Close Trigger. When the dashboard has been updated, you will be able to see the completed task in the overview in the action summary in the central column. In the trigger data, you can see the number of potentially affected areas has changed. The action summary gives an overview of the actions. The summary shows the number of actions per category and the number of actions completed per category. At the top of the map, the days in which there is a potential risk are shown in purple. In the map for the Trigger State portal, you can see the potentially exposed population and the trigger threshold. The trigger is activated when the trigger threshold has been reached. The affected areas are shown as purple provinces with bold red outlines. You can also see the GLOFA stations that have reached their threshold. When you click on a purple GLOFAS drop pin, a pop-up opens. In this pop-up, you can see that the threshold has been reached. To exit the pop-up, you press the exit button. It is also possible to have information on other areas which have not reached the trigger state. You can do so by clicking on them. This concludes the latest IBF portal functionality explanation. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. This is an iterative product that will be continuously improved. Please contact us here for further information.